Good morning, everybody. Welcome to MAM202, Agentic AI for VMware migrations with AWS Transform for VMware. This is a silent session. You all have the headphones in front of you. Just a quick audio check. Can everybody raise your hand if you can hear me okay? All right, looks like folks are working. If you have any audio issues during the session, you can grab another set of headphones near you or go in the back and our crew will help you out. Thank you for making the time today. We have an hour to walk you through what we're doing with AWS Transform for VMware, helping customers accelerate their migration journey with the power of Agentic AI. My name is Sean Lewis. I'm the Director of Infrastructure, Migration, and Modernization here at AWS, and I'm going to be joined today by a couple of my colleagues, Rajesh Rathod and Harpreet Virk, who will come up and drive part of the session as well. We're going to walk you through some content on Transform, and we're going to give you a hands-on demo of Transform for VMware. And we also have some follow-up sessions that we'll talk you through, including workshops. I know folks are very eager to get hands-on with the new service and the offering. So we're going to kind of walk through this in a couple of chapters for you. I'm going to start by teeing up the challenge that customers are facing when it comes to migrations. And at AWS and Amazon, we always work backwards from our customers, right? We hear what you say, ask what you're asking for us to build, and then we go attempt to solve those problems for you. And then Rajesh will actually walk you through the solution, what we built with AWS Transform, particularly for VMware. And then Harpreet will do a technical deep dive where he will walk you through the service and we'll actually get some hands-on experience with it. You'll get an in-depth demo. And then we will close with a couple of customer stories and some resources for you to take next steps around Transform. Okay, so this current state of enterprise IT, migration, optimization, modernization, and the broader kind of transformation landscape that we're seeing really paints a picture that customers are asking for a lot of help on how to go faster and how to significantly migrate more workloads to AWS. So a couple of stats. Gartner says 70% of all IT workloads are still on premises. So while AWS has grown tremendously, you heard Matt talk yesterday about the $132 billion annual run rate business that AWS has become. Thank you for being customers of ours. We still have so much more opportunity to help customers migrate workloads to AWS. 70% of legacy IT software that Fortune 500 companies run was written over 20 years ago, according to McKinsey. So this is software that may no longer have the developer at that organization any longer. There may not have been good documentation or notes in the source code to indicate why design decisions were made. The software may be tied to older infrastructure platforms or have other dependencies that make it more difficult when it comes to security, when it comes to modernization, performance, resilience, other challenges that customers are facing with these legacy enterprise apps. And 1.5 years is the average time to migrate from start to finish, according to ISEG. So when you think about these challenges where customers are starting a migration and then working through the different waves associated with the migration, what we heard consistently was faster time to value and a better way to be able to execute my migrations at scale using automation and the power of technology. So today we're going to walk through a fictitious customer example, but this is a compilation of different customer elements that we've heard as we've engaged with customers to assist in their migrations. And the name of our fictitious customer today is Ultimate Bank. So Ultimate Bank is a financial services organization. They have 4,000 VMware VMs distributed across 4 different data centers. They have a lot of different technology components, and this is probably starting to sound like some of the organizations that you work with or you've worked with in the past. There's mainframe workloads inside of Ultimate Bank, Windows workloads. They run analytics, there's disaster recovery, high performance compute. Lots of different aspects of their business are represented across those 4,000 VMs in those 4 data centers. The application teams that support those apps are sometimes connected into core IT, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they report into the line of business, and they are distributed all around the world. The customer also has a lot of security infrastructure that they've built up to be able to harden their on-premises infrastructure. So they've worked with partners like Palo Alto. They have VMware NSX in place. They are working on their cloud transformation. They've built a team that's comprised of IT leadership, app owners, and their infrastructure teams. A partner called Lotus Consulting, also a fictitious partner, premier AWS migration partner, and then our AWS migration specialists and ProServe teams to assist. So when we talk to customers about their migration journey and what it is that they're doing, how they're thinking about their strategy, we often talk about this migration pathways story. AWS offers flexibility and choice for customers. We know that you don't want to be pushed down one particular pathway. We've heard that loud and clear from customers. We know that you would like to look at the different options available to you and that multiple pathways may be the right solution for you depending on the workload. When a customer is looking at something like an infrastructure migration, we'll typically start with a couple of these pathways, and I'll just briefly cover them. The first is the relocate pattern with Amazon EVS. That's our elastic VMware service. This provides VMware in AWS, running on bare metal AWS instances. You get VCF. You get all the components of the VCF stack running in AWS. You can migrate VMs into EVS using native VMware tools. Management, reporting, orchestration, all those things are available to you as part of your VCF environment running on EVS. Rehost, taking virtual machines that are on premises and rehosting them and moving them into Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Replatforming to containers. Customers are taking on-premises VMs and coming into some of our container offerings, such as Elastic Kubernetes Service, EKS, or Elastic Container Service, ECS. Replatforming to managed services. So this could be offerings like relational database service, workspaces, our virtual desktop infrastructure. This could be FSx, our managed file systems. Offerings that AWS provides for you to take on more of the shared responsibility model and move further up the stack, where we can manage the database for you or your VDI infrastructure, whatever the case may be, so that you can focus more on delivering business value to customers. And then, of course, refactoring, right? Taking a monolithic application, breaking it down, rebuilding it using serverless, using microservices, other components that will allow the app to run in a more cloud-native fashion. For this migration, our customer, Ultimate Bank, chose rehost. And they're going to use AWS Transform for VMware to rehost those 4,000 VMs into EC2. I'm now going to hand over to Rajesh, who's going to walk us through the AWS Transform for VMware content. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much, Sean. So Sean articulated how big opportunity this is and what kind of challenges our customers face. While we took the example of Ultimate Bank, which is representative of many other customers that we talk to. Now, when we started working on Agentic AI solutions, there were many use cases, but we wanted to dive deep and understand the reasons why it takes 1.5 to 2 years for doing large-scale migrations. What is happening with those customers? And what we found is there were two types of challenges. One was technical, second was organizational. Technical is kind of well understood that those are all old system, monolith systems. It's not well documented. There is complexities and dependencies all around. There are no good source of truth. And then there is also lack of automation and testing. So customers generally worry about touching those systems if you can't really test them well. But what we learned is, along with technical things, the challenges that we had to solve with Agentic AI are also organizational. Because with different ownership, different lines of business, many people have to say yes or approve and review things that kind of slow you down when you want to migrate. Also, there is prioritization issues where the resources who have the right skills have already left, or they don't have access to the systems, or they are kind of busy with other projects. So how can you address that scarcity of resources, that part? And we also learned that none of these projects can be done by just one team. You end up bringing a partner, bringing AWS professional services or different parts of your organization, and then collaboration between all of the stakeholders and having one source of truth. That was the key requirement. And because of this, all those projects, what task can be completed in month was going to kind of years. Projects were getting stalled. Innovation was slowing down, and business growth was not happening for many of our customers. So we said this is an important problem for customers, and hence we introduced AWS Transform for VMware to start with VMware migration journey and say how we can address some of these challenges that customers are facing. So we launched this in May, and we have completely revamped, looking at all feedback from last 6 months, and we announced bunch of changes on Monday. That is what I'm going to focus on. So what all the changes that we have made, what are the current capabilities, and then Harpreet is going to give a demo of that as well. So let's look at it. Where AWS Transform for VMware is part of a bigger service. It's AWS Transform. And collectively, the service has capabilities for migrations, modernization for Windows, as well as mainframe, SQL Server databases, and what we launched on Monday was custom. So you can transform from any to any state. And those are the things now all part of AWS Transform. And this is our agentic system. So to understand what agentic system really means, I think we need to collectively level set on certain definitions. When generative AI started, people were kind of all over building AI assistants. You ask bunch of questions, AI will generate code, give you specific answers. That was good for solving certain problems. But then came AI agents. Those agents were achieving a singular purpose. You tell the agent to do convert from CloudFormation to Terraform. It will just do that part, and then you will have to go and you invoke another agent which will do a second part, and then you can address lot of things but execute them like workflow. We realize that migration and modernization involves ton of tasks, ton of things that you need to do, and bringing that together and tie it to a business purpose is the right strategy. So rather than you stitching together this whole experience, we provide a multi-agent system, and that agentic system is going to take your business goal and start modernizing or migrating your applications. Another thing, we had two choices. One is we make it fully autonomous, and second is where we have human in the loop. We realize that 70% of our migration modernization projects have a partner involved, and multiple specialists have to come in, validate, and then only you make those decisions, critical decisions. So human in the loop was a big part for us, and that's why we wanted this agent to not come across as a replacing humans who are doing that task, but rather become a team member. So when you are doing a transformation project, this agent is part of your team. So that's how we have built. So it has increasing autonomy and business impact, and that is the system. So how does that come together in the case of VMware? So think of VMware as set of distinct tasks which have its own domain. So you discover and assess. That's where you create your business plan, business case, identify all the dependencies, and create your migration strategy. That's a domain in itself. So we have an agent as part of bigger VMware migration agent which takes care of that functionality. Second is migration planning, because you don't want to just look at the technical dependency. You also want to look at your business factors, some constraints that you have, ownership, business priorities, bringing all of those things together in migration planning. That is the second agent. Third is network. So Sean mentioned about network topologies and what kind of ultimate bank has so many different security systems, and for you to mimic all of those things, bring it into AWS is a big undertaking, and a lot of time you end up doing those work manually. So how we can bring network conversion and migration as an agent? So that's a capability. And finally, you need to deploy all of these resources into AWS. So how do you migrate those servers? So these are things that we collectively brought together, and initial launch from our side had specific considerations on technical architecture, which we have seen that customers really like. So any such systems where you are giving your metadata or data to an agent to perform certain tasks, you always want to have right security boundaries. So what we have is there are a bunch of things, tools that we provide for your on-premises environment. Those could be for exporting your NSX rules, getting data from your vSphere environment, or a replication agent which goes and takes your VMs and actually replicate them to AWS. Then we have an account where AWS Transform functions. It orchestrates everything, provides the security, provisions right access, and support your multi-account migrations. So that's one account. And then you bring in two accounts, your own account. One is where you want to import all your inventory. So any data that you want this agent to know for your migration, we want to give you control. So you define the account, and in that account, you can bring the inventory. And finally, you define the destination account, the account in which you want to migrate all your servers and network. That could be one or many accounts. So this is the architecture that we followed. So it has that separation, it has the governance, and it can scale even for the large data center exits. So new things that we launched on top of this architecture this Monday is a goal-seeking workflow which combines migration assessment, server and network migrations, all in agentic manner. So you can start with any of the specific tasks, you can add other things, you can remove things. So you have full control and flexibility on how this planning is happening. And in that large-scale migration planning, we brought in business context. So your business context is not always some CMDB data. It might be a wiki page, a document, your rules or internal guides. You can provide all of those things to transform. So when a plan is created, it accounts for all of those things that you want in the plan. So it reduces the manual work that you have to do later on. Another thing that we realized is these are long-running agents. Some of these tasks probably it will complete in a few weeks. So you don't want always to kind of read some documentation and figure out what are the next things that you need to do. These agents are constantly guiding you that I need input here, I'm stuck here, or these are some of the choices that I have, how you want me to make decisions. So it is going to always tell you what are the next steps. And also, while it is automated execution, it allows you to do parallel execution. So if you have 12 migration waves happening, and you want to start with migration wave 1 and 4, because of your business priorities, you can do that. Or while it is doing migration planning, you want to start setting up your connectors to target accounts, you can do things in parallel. So there is a lot of optimization that we have brought in, and this is how the new experience looks. Are there anybody who have used AWS Transform so far for migration? Okay, yeah. So there are few people. So you will see this is a new experience where you will be starting with chat. You can ask AWS Transform to summarize the progress, give you all the artifacts, what it has generated. You can download them, inspect them. There is a common approval. So critical tasks which require approval, you can go and track what approvals you are providing. And all the artifacts which agents are generating, those are available for you to inspect. So when we started looking at the scenarios that Sean described on a partner coming in, AWS ProServe, customer together, we wanted to bring that into AWS Transform, where there is a one shared workspace in which everybody is collaborating. So there is a single source of truth. And then the administrator of the workspace is going to define different roles and give people access on what they can do, who is contributor, who is approver, who is administrator, all of those things. So this brings collaboration together, and all those silos that you have in organization, who needs to approve, what data they need, everything is sorted out. Another thing that we did is a lot of time you need help from support or shared organization. So we brought in our AWS support also into here. So with chat, you can say that, hey, I'm stuck here, I need help. And if you have pro tier support, then our countdown premium will get invoked, and they will go ahead and help you with those migration projects or any issues or troubleshooting that you need. So all of those collaborations, bringing stakeholders together, is something that we have done, and this is how it looks in the system. So if you go to the workspace, in this example, I have those Lotus Consulting folks who are going to help me with the migration projects in the same workspace with a specific role given to them. Our AWS team, Harpreet is there. The customer CIO is part of the same workspace, so they can all collaborate and work on that particular project. So now looking at how you should progress. So one thing that I have seen in all these migration projects which are happening, sometimes it is very hard to get started and figure out which application I should migrate first, how much it is going to cost, where am I going to provision. So the migration assessment agent that we have in AWS Transform, that is a good starting point. So you can look at whatever metadata that you have for your VMs, your storage, all of those things, provide it to the assessment agent, and the assessment agent is going to go ahead and create a business case for you. It will give you, it will take care of right sizing, it will give you target infrastructure that you need to deploy, how much it will cost, what are the savings plans or other pricing related information. And once it generates an artifact, now agent also provides a good summary that what it generated. And this artifact you can download as a PowerPoint presentation to get approval from senior leadership. You can get a spreadsheet if you want to inspect and say, okay, which VM is getting mapped where and what instance is being used. Or you can chat with this artifact. So in AWS Transform, you can ask any questions. Why is my cost this much? If I move from 1 year to 3 year plan, how much it is going to cost? What are the licensing assumptions that you have made? So all of those things are readily available. So what used to take 3 or 4 weeks for creating your initial plan and have some meaningful discussion, now you can do it in 2 hours. And you can be ready for thinking about how do we want to get started. So I recommend that people always start with assessment. And new thing on Monday, what we also added is, once you are happy with the assessment result and you want to start migration, you can directly click a button there and say, okay, use this same context and start my migration project. So you don't have to do the discovery and data collection and all of those things again. It's a continuous flow from assessment to your migration agent. And when you start doing migration, it is going to ask, give me a scope. What exactly in VMware migration you want me to do? So give some standard prompts. Earlier, these were set workflows, that if you select network migration, it is going to do X, Y, Z for you. And once you start that job, you cannot get out. You will have to create a new job. That everything changed on this Monday. You can start anywhere. You can say that, okay, let's just do discovery and server migration. It is not going to include anything related to network and all. You start doing migration and say, hey, this is good. I actually want to provision my network also with that. You can tell the agent that add network migration here as well. Or you started with end-to-end migration, and you say, hey, my network people are kind of right now busy, I want to skip that part. Or I have already provisioned certain resources, or I have a plan, just use the plan from another job. All of those things you can do. You can take artifacts from a different workspace, a different job in the same workspace, and reuse them here. So that's the agentic things that we have brought in here. One more thing which we got a lot of feedback about is customers wanted control on what kind of data is shared with AWS Transform. They did not want kind of live data sync and all of those things, because a lot of time you have a big footprint on premises. You don't want to migrate all of them. So what we did is we built a tool, a discovery tool. This discovery tool you can run in your vSphere environment in source. It collects all the data. It doesn't have any internet connectivity. It doesn't send any data to AWS Transform. You have visibility of the data it collected. Then you inspect and decide that these are the things which are relevant for my migration project. Then you go ahead and import that into AWS Transform. So it is self-contained, secure, and you have full control on how this discovery data will get used. So we said, okay, this solves the problem where people want to discover the resources on premises. But then I said, hey, I have already done a lot of discovery with some other tools. I had used Cloudomize, I have Modelize IT, I had done some other assessment. So what about that? Why should I even use this tool? So we said, okay, we are going to give you flexibility. Import anything. You can import things that you got from your discovery tool. You can do any third-party tools, RV tools, your migration evaluator. even simple Word documents or spreadsheets that you have in any format. Earlier, you had to kind of stick to a specific format in which you provide the data. Now, no. This is all LLM driven. You give data, we will synthesize it, we will tell you that this is what we got, create a wave plan based on that, and you approve whether you like it. And it is also going to give you a confidence level for each one of those things. That am I confident that I have mapped everything correctly? So you can take actions based on that. So these are the new capabilities that we added. Also, we worked on migration planning. We realized that when case like Ultimate Bank, where they have 4,000 servers and they want to do migration planning, you can't just wait for that agent to figure out all network dependencies and come back with result. It would not scale. There are many different parameters now LLM can understand based on the inputs that you provided. So now we have an age migration planning agent which can scale for more than 1,000, 2,000 VMs, and it is going to give you a plan looking at the technical dependencies as well as business context. And the good thing is, it is also going to summarize everything for you. What considerations that I have used in doing this migration planning. So if you want to alter any of those things, you can do that. It prioritized travel expense applications. It prioritized Linux over Windows. It prioritized reducing data center cost, those considerations. You want to change and flip some of those things, saying that I prioritize for speed. I need to exit this data center. Don't wait for fully optimal things. Or you want to pick specific applications. You can tell all of those things in clear language, and agent will understand and revise the plan for you. So those are the planning improvements, and it provides you a summary which you can then go ahead and send it to other stakeholders if somebody needs to approve it. That should we move forward with this plan. So you can take this whole summary, and at any point in time in this migration project, you can go and ask agent to summarize some things or do things differently. That hey, my business priorities have changed. From second wave onwards, we are going to make some changes. Can you revise my wave plan? It is going to do that for you now. There's a lot of control as a practitioners that you have with all of those agents. Then we started looking at network conversion. This is one part which was very tedious. A lot of skills required. People who are those network experts who understand VMware, they don't understand AWS. Or if they understand AWS, they don't understand VMware, how everything maps. So it was very hard thing, and getting all those hybrid skills people is not easy. So what we have done is we have evolved this to start adding more topologies as well as more source environments. Initially, when we launched, it was about VMware RV2's data that we accept and NSX. We got that a lot of people use Palo Alto, FortiGate, Cisco. We prioritized those three and provided support for that here as well. On both mainly used target topologies, we support hub and spoke and isolated VPC. And we have this agent which reads all this source data and translates that into AWS equivalents. So your VPCs, subnets, elastic IPs, all of those get created. Now, when I say those get created, again, we knew that our customers and partners, they needed control. They wanted to see whether AWS Transform should automatically provision this, or we want to provision that ourselves. So then we started working on, okay, we are going to give you a summary. So this is what we have identified. You review, and if you feel comfortable for AWS Transform to provision, we will provision all these resources for you. Or you want to have more control, and you want to create those as your choice on, okay, I want to retain IP, I want to change my IP, I want to change my CIDR ranges, all of those things that you can start providing, and say convert, create infrastructure as code for me, and then I'm going to take care of things. So we have CloudFormation support, we have Terraform support, and you can go ahead and decide you want to deploy by uploading the CloudFormation template back into our service and deploy, or you want to use your own deployment tool and go ahead and deploy those resources and continue. Once you are done, resources are tagged, your rehost agent can continue migrating with that. And this setup can work with multi-accounts as well now. Earlier it was single account migration, that one job can migrate to one account. Now one job can migrate to multiple accounts. So if you want to use different accounts for different applications, or your prod accounts are different, all of those things you'll be able to do now with AWS Transform. Big part where a lot of time gets spent in multiple waves is our server migration. So there we realized that when customers are running these VMs, not everything is virtualized, or their applications, not everything is virtualized. So for VMs, we have Windows servers and Linux servers supported, but we started supporting any x86 architecture with VMware vSphere, Hyper-V, or Nutanix and bare metal. So any of those systems, now you will be able to migrate with AWS Transform. So the way you can see, this agent is kind of becoming more of a general purpose migration agent with special domain knowledge around VMware networking and wave planning. So that is what you see here. You get the wave-wise summary. You can set up the replication agent. It uses our AWS application migration service technology to start moving resources to AWS your target account, and everything you can track from one tool. AWS Transform is going to give you end-to-end tracking of what progress you are making. And finally, once it is migrated, again AWS Transform will have that context if you want to modernize and support. So few things on server migration that I would highlight is that it has a wave-based approach with built-in functionality for rollback. That while migrating a particular wave, if few things changed and you want to deprovision those resources, you will be able to do that. Or it gives an error and you want to resolve that error, you can ask agent to provide you guidance on how to resolve. With the AWS Transform chat, now it has knowledge of all AWS services. Okay, you don't have to go to any documentation. You can ask questions. Hey, what is EVS? Elastic VMware service, tell me more. Or IPv4, IPv6, how it is supported in VPC, what are the subnet groups? While you are here in AWS Transform and you are inspecting, you can ask those questions. It also has knowledge of all our prescriptive guidance that AWS has created based on the 19 years of experience of migrating and modernizing many data centers. So it is going to give you all those best practices readily available here. You don't have to go and do any search or read bunch of documentation. It has full knowledge about our user guide. You don't need to read 500 pages of user guide. It is going to give you all those context here. So throughout your migration project, this becomes one place where you go and execute your entire project. Other thing that we added is this multi-region support, where initially we were in just 2 regions. Now we have expanded that to 8, and I'll talk about that in next slide as well. And finally, we realized that if you are a customer, you are engaging a partner, or you are a partner and you need to report your status to customer, it is very important that you have accurate reporting of what agent is doing, what your team is doing, and where are those guardrails. So with work logs, all those artifacts, you have everything documented, and you can go ahead and share those artifacts to make sure that you are comfortable with the decisions that agent is making. And you can also summarize at any point in time, say what all decisions the agent has made. What are the things which require attention from my side? Why is this agent taking longer? Is there anything that I need to do? All of those things you will be able to do. There is a lot of flexibility built into it. And we had a lot of feedback from our Asia Pacific and Europe customers. They wanted more region expansion. So now AWS Transform is available in these 8 regions, covering our Americas, Asia Pacific, and Europe, and the target regions. Once you have you can run AWS Transform in these 8, but you have a choice to migrate to 16 regions, and there are more coming. So that's the cross-region migration functionality which we have here. So there is a lot of things that we discussed in terms of what challenges customers have, both technical as well as organizational, how agentic AI can help in solving those problems from organizational collaborations to automation, human in the loop, and how it can be agentic so you have flexibility, you have security. All of those things is now ready. Everything is generally available for you to use. And I can't wait on seeing how you start using this capability and migrate. But to give you the first glimpse, I'll invite Harpreet to come here and provide you a demo and go over many of those use cases, how it shows up in the product. And then we have your hands-on sessions planned in a lot of workshops as well. Okay, Harpreet?
I don't need that. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Harpreet Virk. I work with global financial services customers. And I actually help customers in their modernization and migration journey, helping customers in solving their large migration challenges. So this demo is a recorded demo. I'll actually go over different steps, which we actually do as part of this migration. Now, this is recorded, but we do have a virgin immersion day. So talk to your account teams, which is actually much more you can use a hands-on experience to do real migration from in our controlled lab environment from one region to other. So it'll actually show you all the capabilities. So the first step, when you actually log in, this is actually the first step, unified web experience, because large migrations are complex. So you'll see here that there are different our agents, mainframe migration, experience with acceleration. So we'll talk about our migration, and then which is VMware migration. So I'll click on that. In VMware migration, you have two options. One is assessment, and the second is actually the migration. Rajesh did touch on the assessment, that before your migration, you can actually cover the assessment part. So there are 5 different things which you could do. Let's say if you already have pre-existing your network in your accounts or in your, everything is pre-done, VPC subnets are there, you can actually choose discovery and server migration. For this demo, we are doing end-to-end migration. So that will actually cover your discovery, your web planning, and then your server migration from on-prem. So I'll click on the end-to-end migration. Now this is the chat experience. So when you actually go talk to, within this job, there are different agents. So you'll see the context actually switching. If there's an assessment, it'll actually show you that assessment agent. If there's a discovery, so every agent, when your context is switching, you should see that in the chat. So here I'm actually giving an input, start, and then you submit, click on the submit button. So this is my import inventory, where I can actually provide RV tools. You can actually provide our discovery tool or any other tools which you may have on-prem. You can actually use that. So file upload, that's where you would actually, and every step it will actually show you what it is actually doing. Either it will actually give you a prompt, or there will be a button which you can actually interactive kind of act with it. So here I'm actually uploading a file, which is actually our discovery tool. Do a submit, and this is where it will actually identify all my inventory, give me a summary for everything what it actually did discover. So we have a discovery tools. It actually does kind of have the capability to look at the network kind of traffic between your servers. So on the first tab, we see the servers, all your IP and everything, operating system it did identify. The second tab, if you see the network communication, because one of the common challenge which we see customers, that dependency mapping, right? So some customers, they're more mature. They may have CMDB. They know how these applications talk to each other. Discovery agent actually helps solve that problem. So it knows that how these servers are actually talking to each other. That helps in building the wave. So wave is actually a combination of servers would actually comprise one application. Multiple applications can go into one wave, right? So dependent application, you want to actually migrate them together. So this gives you pretty good visibility how these servers are talking to each other and the ports. So post-discovery, we actually go to the next step, which is actually build the migration plan. So this is the summary of whatever we uploaded. So it's discovered your 48 total servers. It give you pretty good output in terms of how many Linux servers are there, what is their operating system, what are their CPU utilization, memory, and everything, whatever it actually could discover. Rajesh did talk about actually giving more context, right? So let's say you have CMDB, agent actually discovered some things, right? You may have other application dependency, business dependency. You can actually provide more context to whatever we have, or this agent has discovered, right? You can provide context like, hey, this is other context. There are certain tags I want to use in kind of planning these waves together, planning all these applications which actually need to go together. So what we are doing here is actually, we have different server names and we have tags associated with them. So example is for like dev and test. So it'll actually read that context, club those applications together, or servers into applications and applications into the waves. So you can use any information which you have to kind of feed it to or providing more context. So in this one, we are actually doing the kind of grouping based on the network traffic. But as I said, like you can have other contexts. You can actually augment that with any information which you have on. So what it did tell you is actually, hey, I have these 2 applications, 4 servers, and they are dev, test, stage, prod, and total 7 applications. So pretty good summary. Now you can interact. You may say like, no, I want these test and dev, they need to go together. So you have the ability to actually chat with the agent like, oh, no, I want this together. I want this prioritize maybe dev over test, or I want to do the test discovery or my test migration first before I start with the dev. So that capability, you can actually interactively chat it and provide more context. So this is kind of all the grouping in terms of post-inventory. This is your migration plan grouping, how it actually came up. So you can, once you read that information, again, you can actually go back and change. But if this is good, you can actually go ahead with your migration planning here. So human in the loop, it'll ask you, is this good? Does it look good? So you can actually say approve, yes, doesn't look good, let me actually rechange, or I need to make changes in this plan. That is possible. So here I'm actually all good with whatever the results I got, so I'm actually approving that. Move group is how these would actually go together, right? Move group is actually a logical kind of group of servers. So they would actually move together. So underlying, it actually still uses MGN. Raise of hand, how many in the audience, they have used MGN for their migrations? So this actually reduces some of the more complexities. I mean, in MGN, you have to change the launch template and all that. So this is one easy way you can actually chat with it. Like, hey, I want to change this subnet. I want to add this security group. So everything is actually possible. You can actually do through the chat experience. So it makes it pretty easy. If you see that, compare that from like you have to flip over different screens in the MGN console. So I confirm with my move group. I'm all good. The move groups are correctly loaded. It'll actually give you a pretty summary that, okay, these are my move groups. This is the environment. These are the applications. Again, you could combine those as you wish. So slice and dice the way you like it. So then there are operational kind of other questions or optional other questions, which like how do you want to sequencing? I talk about like you want to prioritize test over dev, or you want to prioritize maybe dev over some other many environment, or customers do have like multiple stacks, stack A, stack B. I come from an environment where we had 5 stacks, so we were actually have the ability that, okay, I can, for development, we had 3 different stacks. So you can actually use this chat capability to actually prioritize anything you want to do. So your planning is complete. You can actually look at the summary. You can actually download this, share that, because this is, again, cross kind of your organization, like maybe vet with your application owners, your infrastructure team, because migration is not actually one person would actually click a button and it will be done, because it has to be planned. So everybody should be aware that this is how we are planning, and then everybody's on the same page. So that's something which you can actually share across the teams. So risk level, again, other thing, you can actually define whatever risk. And as Rajesh mentioned, if you don't need to, like your priority is like, oh, I want to get out of the data center. I want to get out of this, let's say, VMware contract, right? So some of customers, we work with them, they have some of those kind of complexities. So you can actually change that and actually kind of make it much more aggressive in terms of migrations. So we talked about 16 target accounts, or target regions. Now, how do you actually connect to your target account? So this is the place where AWS Transform has to talk to your target account, is where your MGN workload or these servers would be actually migrated. So you need to have a role in place for that, and that is the configuration which it needs to do here. So you can actually click on proceed to connect to my target account. We have two capabilities. Rajesh already touched on that, single account versus multi-account. Most applications, you would actually go into single account in a wave. Very rare that you have cross, like your different dev environments, you want to actually go cross account. But most use cases, at least in large complex migrations, that any application would be in a single account. But we do have ability, you can actually do multi-account here. So in this demo, we are doing a single account configuration. So I'll click on the configure my single account connector. Connector is our security context or creation of roles and policies for AWS Transform to actually talk to that target account, because it needs to talk to MGN to make some of those API calls, to do cutover, to test, and so on. So here you will actually provide your account number, your region where you actually want to migrate these servers. Click next. You can use your default, your encryption for S3. S3 is actually intermediate kind of when AWS Transform talks to these services. So this is where it actually would place all the artifacts. So if it needs to talk to MGN, there will be MGN import, export. So that's the place where you will see all the artifacts. And this S3 is actually managed by service, so you don't have to do anything. Now, if you want to use CMK, custom managed keys, you can actually choose your own keys here. You have that ability to do that. So copy verification link, it'll actually generate a URL for you. Once you click on that URL, this is the screen which you would actually see. So here, you're asked to actually save and approve. If you look here, the service access, you can actually look at all the policies and permissions which it actually create. So there is actually, I think there's a context. What it adds is actually adds the filters. So workspace ID, and there's other tag which is actually created by Transform. AWS Transform. So those are the filters which it actually uses to interact with your target account. So let's say if you have other 1,000 servers in MGN, it will only be able to action on those servers which have these tags. You can apply these policies to your pre-existing role, because sometimes your security may not want you to actually create role. That ability is there, that you can actually assign these policies to your existing roles. So here my configuration is completed. And now I'm actually ready for at least my target account configuration. Everything is done. You'll come back on this on your AWS Transform screen, do submit here. So here I'm telling that, okay, all my setup for my target account is actually done. Role and everything policies has been done. So I can actually go with the next. So migrate network migration is one of the big, I think in terms of the complexity that we do see customers who actually are in the migration journey, this is the most complex thing. It makes it so simple to actually read your RV tools, NSX file, or your other constructs also. Some of the like Cisco files you can actually provide. There are other capabilities coming in as well. It will actually generate AWS artifacts for you. Your VPCs, your subnets, even security groups if you have NSX, your output files. So I'll go to the next here. So here is I'm actually providing NSX input file here. You actually do submit, same interface here. You would say map security groups, because NSX does have that kind of granular your information for kind of that how these VMs talk to each other. So it has the ability with NSX files to generate your security groups. So this is a summary which it actually did generate out of that. So it will actually generate your output in terms of the CloudFormation template on S3. You can actually download, or you can actually use AWS Transform to actually deploy directly in your environment. It does have other capabilities. You can actually use Terraform. You can download, you can approve, talk to your security team if they are security architects here. They can actually view. So those capabilities are there, but it will actually give you both the options. So here actually I can click on that, look at my CloudFormation, your output, you can actually view here. So you can actually view your VPC. You can maximize this, your network configuration. One thing, if you want to actually, let's say, change your CIDR ranges on-prem, let's say in this example, we have 192, 168. You want to map it to 10.16 or whatever your CIDR range. You have the ability, it can actually do kind of mass translation for you. So here, in this example, we are sticking to the static IP, same CIDR range, but here, if you wanted, you could actually go move that to 172. So generate Terraform infrastructure code. You can actually generate Terraform and use that for your VPC constructs or deployment as a IAC. You can also actually ask it to generate your landing zone accelerator. So that can be generated as an output of this. You can actually create your landing zone. Once you're done, you are done with your VPC. You can actually use CDK as an output. CDK, CloudFormation, your Terraform, everything is actually possible. So here is your Terraform output generated in this example. So it will actually give you the README and your LGA for this accelerator for all the output. So this is the output which you actually get from this in terms of your output as a YAML file. So if you see, in terms of approval, we did talk about like you can have approver here. So in left-hand side, you can actually go. So if there is any action which needs approval, you can actually click on that. It will actually show you. So if you're admin, you can actually approve. But if, let's say, in your organization, someone else is the admin, they can actually approve that. They would see this in their AWS Transform your workspace. So here's the summary of all the information which actually did. So press approve. So I'm done with my approval, and it'll actually do a deployment. So I go to this is the step where we actually do actual migration for your EC2. So where we actually execute those our waves. So in EC2, you can actually use the utilization because collector does have information about your CPU and memory. So you can use your average or your peak, or you can actually provide some additional information from your monitoring tool. You can actually use that as well. So here is actually output for my waves. So there are 4 waves. Development, and then you see that, as Rajesh mentioned, that you can actually pick one wave. You want to prioritize dev over others. So here I'm actually going to click on the wave 0. So other security is that anything which AWS needs to connect or create those resources, there has to be some tags. So you can actually automate that, or you can actually use the URL provided here. So same thing, it will actually generate those or add those tags for your network resources so that it can actually work on those. Sorry? Cool. So that actually is kind of in your, as I said, like we do have immersion day for this. So much more detail. So this will actually show you the flow from your wave. You can actually do kind of tests. Your connectivity, you can actually do the test launch. You can, once you're done with your testing, you can actually do the your production cutover. Same kind of your workflow, which is actually in MGN already. So I'll actually hand it over back to Sean, talk about some of the real customer examples. So back to you, Sean.
Great job, Harpreet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you heard Rajesh walk through Transform for VMware. You saw Harpreet demo workflow of how we're actually helping customers ingest data, execute wave planning, do the network configuration, and then migrate VMs. I'm going to briefly cover a couple of customer stories where we've seen large success early on in the life cycle. Here, we only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to move pretty quickly through these. The first is CSL. They selected Transform for VMware and AWS to migrate these workloads. You can see some of the cost savings here, 30% operational cost savings, and they ingested 4.6 million records of on-premises data to help inform some of the planning on prioritization, what to move when, as part of their migration out of 29 data centers for their 5,000 VM estate. There's a session at 11:30 this morning with CSL talking much more in depth about their story, so I'll show that in a second here. You can attend if you want to learn more. The second is Vector. Vector is a utility company in New Zealand. They used Transform to accelerate their migrations 34% faster, and they reduced their TCO by 35%. And you can see there's a great quote here about using Transform to continually refine and improve their migration process as they went to continue to go faster and faster. A couple of launch partners here that we wanted to make sure we highlighted with you. These are partners that have come with us along the journey for Transform for VMware, and they've been integral in the development of the product in terms of working with us on private preview, working with us on customers as they started their migration. So thank you to these partners. Selection of partners that will grow larger and larger as more partners on board with Transform for VMware. So what are the next steps here? As you wrap up and you think about what you want to do in terms of your migration, we hope you'll consider AWS Transform for VMware for your migration. It is available to you at no cost. So we really want you to get your hands on it and experiment, try it. So Rajesh, I think, did a really good job of covering assessment and discovery and the different kind of phases of the process here. So I'm not going to go in depth there. I will just ask you to think about our experience-based accelerator, or EBA. This is a cloud party that we can host with you on your premises, virtual, hybrid, however you'd like to do it, where we can bring different folks from your organization together and actually get Transform set up and running and help you get some VMs migrated, get hands-on experience. So a couple of upcoming sessions. I mentioned the CSL session. We have some other sessions over the next couple of days that may be of interest to you. MAM202, our EVS deep dive, Elastic VMware Service. We talked about the relocate pattern a little bit earlier. We've got some sessions about modernizing VMware workloads. We've got our ProServe team tomorrow talking about the cloud migration factory that they've built, which is leveraging Transform. And then we've got some other sessions here that touch on migrating, optimizing, and modernizing VMware. Please come stop by and see us at the expo. We have a couple of booths in the migration modernization section that may be of interest to you. VMware workloads in Transform in particular. You can come talk to us about Transform for VMware, as well as .NET, mainframe, AWS Transform Custom that was announced on Monday. We're wrapping up now, so thank you so much for your time today. Please fill out the session evaluation. Really eager to get your feedback. Rajesh, Harpreet, and I will be around for a few minutes if you want to come over and ask us questions. Have a great rest of your reInvent. Thank you very much.